thank you for coming along. I'm Alistair Barr from Grad Mentor, and I think some of you have joined our webinars before, and I really appreciate you coming along, and hopefully they're getting value. And today I'm really excited to have Andrew here from IOOF. So welcome, mate. I really appreciate you coming along. Do you want to quickly just tell the gang what your job here, so who IOOF is, what your job is here, and something weird about yourself?
Well, IOOF have been a big part of the investment management framework for well over 100 years now. And of course, just recently, there's been the ANZ wealth groups have come across into the fold. So it's a huge array of advisors. There's over 1,500 advisors, and that's in what you would call the aligned dealer group space. And I look after something a little bit separate, which is IOOF Alliances, which is our self-licensed advisor offering. So any advisor who wants to get their own license or already has their own license and needs services from compliance to education, training, etc., I facilitate that community. So there's another 300 advisors in that community as well. And it's just a great space to be in. I really, really enjoy it. Something weird about myself?
Well, unique. Weird was not the right word.
Oh. Unique, that makes it harder. Weirder is easier.
Weird, okay, weird. Give us something weird.
No, look, no, nothing too weird. I'm pretty straight-laced, despite what you may have heard. But I used to be, I'm only 5'6", but I used to be a soccer goalkeeper, and quite a good one.
Yeah, took up a bit of room.
Took up a bit of room. I can just jump high. That's about it.
And tell me, how did you get your career started post-university? What was your evolution from university into corporate world or employed world?
So back in the day when I left university, which was 1988, so in 1988 I was in the market, there were a lot of graduate opportunities. You would invariably find yourself with some of the big players, whether that was a Cadbury Schweppes or a VHP, think of that sort of ilk of company with graduate programs. And I was fortunate enough to get a graduate position with two of those, with VHP and Cadbury Schweppes. I had my share of interviews looking at all sorts of different jobs. Undertaking was one job interview that I did go for.
Oh, wow, you didn't get that one?
No, I didn't get that one. I think I was too happy. But yeah, I got into graduate positions and they were fantastic because you got an all-around look at a business and then were able to chart your course from there. But I fell in love with anything that had to do with financials, but particularly I got a lot of exposure really early on to the commodities markets and ended up being the cocoa bean buyer for Cadbury Schweppes Australia.
Wow, that's cool.
That was pretty cool because that was all done on futures as well. So you would hedge your purchases with some futures trading. So that kind of started the love affair.
Right. There you go. And now the advice industry, what's one thing you're really passionate about in this particular industry that you're now working?
I'm really passionate about how advice delivered by amazing advisors changes people's lives in the positive. And I always hold on to that because those are the stories that I see on a daily basis about great advice outcomes, but also because I'm in advice businesses, obviously particularly in the independent space, in inverted commas, only a few people can use that term, but the people who've got their own license, I see some innovation, whether that be from technology, but also from a client engagement point of view. And then you get the client stories. So I know that fantastic advice is being delivered. And it's a real passion for me that, well, let's get more people involved with that sort of view of the world. And let's get more advice delivered.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to quickly launch a poll. We said we're going to cover 5 topics today. I'm really acutely aware that some of them are more interesting to you than others. So I'm going to launch this poll right now, and I want you to answer which one's the one that you really, really want us to cover today out of all of these ones. So this helps us make sure we cover what you're interested in. If you just want to give your vote there you go, you're starting to go. And because Andy and myself had a bit of a chat through these topics beforehand, and we actually disagree on a fair few of them, which I think is going to make it a way better conversation. So the number one that you're all sort of talking about is a behavioural interview. The number 2 and 3 equally is how to get an interview and how to build rapport in an interview. We'll be fine with those 2. And then cover letters, no one's talking about, but we're going to talk about that. And how to deal with nerves. Okay, cool. So let me close out and hopefully, no, it doesn't shut everything down. So let's start with behavioural interviews. So Andy, I'm sure in your career you've employed and been involved in the hiring process many, many times. Do you use behavioural interviews? Are they used in the process?
Absolutely. I love using them. I like to see how much of someone's approach to something, a situation, is based on experience versus, particularly when you're interviewing someone new out of university, how they can relate something that's happened to them to that situation. So I like just seeing that connection of problem solving or thinking about a situation, and you may have not had that situation because you're new to the workforce. You might not have had that exact situation, but if you can relate it to something and how you've tackled something in the past, I love it. I just like to see the connection. The thing that I always look for, and I guess this is dependent on the skill of the interviewer, I look for the reality and the truth in what someone's saying. Yeah. And you can really tell when someone is concocting the story, and you know, A, you can tell by their body language, B, you can tell by the way the story is going, unless they're an amazing actor, which probably, why would they be interviewing with me? But so I like to see if they're concocting, and I absolutely don't mind if they're concocting the story, because if they can do that quickly on their feet as well, you know, that's a skill you might be looking for as well. So it depends on what you're going for, but I love using them because I just like, it does take someone out of their comfort zone. It does test how you can relate things that have happened to you to certain situations, and gives me an indicator of how may you act under pressure in a particular situation that comes up.
Good. So the purpose of a behavioural interview is to recreate a situation, that a place that you found yourself in the past. So it's not, explain a situation that you found yourself in the past, not creating one or imagining one or making something sort of fake, right? And so the example, I kind of say that it's half of it's about the example that's used, and then how it's related to the role. And so sometimes when you say, have you dealt with a tough customer, but you've only worked with an internal team, so you haven't had the end customer, well, being able to say, well, let's assume that our internal team's a customer for the case of this example. Yeah. So that's relating it to.
I think that's really important for the interviewee to take some control in the situation. Don't feel as if you straight away have to dive into the scenario and answering it. You are quite within your rights, I think, to put some parameters going. Well, let's say I'll take your scenario and I'll apply it to what I've done. So I'm going to treat it in this way.
Perfect.
I think that's completely fine. And for me, that shows you how you're putting context and aligning the context for you.
And thinking through
it, yeah.
Because I often say the one answer that's not okay when a behavioural interview, because most of the time it's your scenario. As long as you're talking about your scenario, the one that's not okay is I don't have an answer for that. So you kind of have to think about ways you can think about your previous experience and then mould it into the scenario that's been given to you, which is...
I know a lot of people sometimes you do get that. Look, I don't think I've ever had that scenario, and it goes silent, and then you move on to the next question, and then you walk out of the interview 5 minutes later and you go, I could have said that one. So I don't think there's anything wrong if you're just struggling to grasp that scenario, to just pick your mind, to talk to the interviewer and say, can you just extrapolate that out, and give me an example of it, or can you extrapolate that question out a little bit further, because while I try and recall, I don't think that's any issue at all.
Just getting stuck with that, I don't have an answer is a problem.
Yeah.
Unless you have a way. That's a good way. When you are stuck in that situation, that's a really good tip about saying, okay, can you give me an example of what you mean?
Yeah.
Because just that, I don't know the answer to that one. It's not good enough. from that scenario. They're really good tips, and I think relating the scenario that you found yourself in to the scenario that's being asked is one of the key bits there. So really, really valuable. Let's talk about, and I know you'll be really good at this, Andy, so building rapport in an interview, right? So I spend days and days and days at a time interviewing students coming out. And the one thing that I can pretty much guarantee every single one of them has is that they're all nervous, right? So, and I do a lot of the interviewing, so hopefully I'm focused on taking the nerves away. But what are some things that you think from building a relationship, building a rapport, the first time you meet somebody, people do well, or what they could do to make that happen?
It's usually I'm going to break it. I'm going to break eye contact with him to actually ask the question to the camera. But I think there's some fundamentals in just building rapport and showing a genuine interest in the visual. I think people can sometimes, when you're nervous, you can be too eager. You can be really eager, and you can be kind of clumsy with those typical social norms that we have, like where to sit and where to shake hands. And I got to tell you, I think that's the interviewer's fault.
Yeah.
I think a good interviewer will actually make that part of the entree into the interview really easy. Like, please come in, take a seat here, here's a glass of water, like all of these things, all of those, what's the social etiquette in this situation, I think should be guided by the interviewer.
Sure.
But they should make that interviewee as comfortable as possible. And that negates a lot of these nervousness. Now, let's come away from La La Land, because most interviewers won't be doing that.
You might rock into an interview and there's 3 people in a panel and then you're sitting there like a deer in headlights, right?
Yeah. Or, the third interviewer's late, so you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, no one's really talking. Like, it can be really arduous, and, let's just accept that there's going to be poor interviewers out there.
Yes.
So then it's up to you. And I think some basics. Strong handshake. I know that's pretty passé,
but not crush my hand.
Not crush my hand, just strong, equal tension back. The eye contact, just some basic pleasantries, not trying to say too much, not trying to be funny, like no one's looking for a comedian. But just be yourself. Like, absolutely be yourself. I think the key message I can say is just bring your authenticity to it, so who you are, and it's okay, absolutely 100% to say, really great to meet you, I'm really nervous. Because just by even articulating that, just quells it, because you've said it out there, and everyone go, no, don't be nervous, it'll be fine, whatever. And I think just own how you're feeling, feel happy to express it as well.
Yeah, cool. I do one thing every time I interview students, and I do it for a series of reasons, and it always throws them. So when I walk out to find them in the reception, I say, "Hi, Andy," and I shake your hand, and then I say, as we start walking to the room, I say, "What do you do for fun?" And every single time, people go, "What?" Sorry, and I have to double take on it now. And then they go, "Oh, I read, I study and I read the financial review." And I go, no. What do you do for fun? And so we get the chat, and then by the time we're in the room, we've talked about where we travel, what we cook, why we like fire twirling, and these sort of things. But there's a reason why I asked that, and that is to deflate the nerves, because I don't want to see you in a natural. I want to see you in natural habitat. So I think there's a skill in the interviewer, but I also think being aware of how that lump in your throat and your sweaty palms actually manifest in your mannerisms, having awareness of that. If you do get sweaty palms, and make sure they're dry all the time, or if you do fall off your seat or turn red or vomit or whatever it is that you do with under pressure, be aware of it and know that that's going to come up when you're in these situations.
Yeah, I think, I hope we're all watching The Voice at the moment, but
yes, of course.
You see them get up and you take those big, deep breaths. And, when you're nervous, I reckon that's telling you that this is worth it, this is important to you. And then, therefore, that is absolutely natural. I think you're going to be nervous, and I think embrace it, because it actually, to me, it tells you that it means something to you. And if I'm your interviewer and you tell me, "Great to meet you, Andy, I'm actually really nervous today," I'm going, well, this person's taking this seriously.
Yeah, cool.
And I love that straight away.
You get the devil out on the table. And
and those fun questions, like what do you do for fun, those random questions that invariably you do get asked. I I was always interested in, what people do outside of work, because for me, that's like such a huge part of your life. So whether that's what you're reading or what have you. And if I can tell anyone anything about this is, your resume is one thing and your studies are another thing and the job's another thing as well. And you're trying to align that to this job to land this job. But you are bringing your whole of yourself to this role, and you are a rounded person. You've got other stuff going on in your life, and be prepared to answer some of that stuff, because hopefully someone will ask you about that they actually care more about the resume and the job and matching them together. They actually care who you are. And they'll ask you a couple of questions like, what are you reading? What TV shows you're into? They're really great questions, because for me, as an interviewer, it's saying, how well-rounded is this person? I want to get a sense for what your social scene is like, etc. Because for me, as someone who really watches human behaviour, someone with a great social connected environment is generally someone who people trust.
Yeah, sure.
So, for me, then they're going, wow, this person's got all these things going on in their life, and they've got great social connections, they're socially aware, etc., etc. I know these things build over time, so you're not going to be the complete rounded person in your first interview, but be ready to share a little bit about yourself.
Plus also, like, if I'm going to spend 40 hours with you, like, we better have a bit of chance to talk about something other than work, because I get bored of that. And if it is fire twirling or cooking, mate,
bring it on.
Yeah, tell me what it is. So, there is a question here about getting a job and returning career. I will definitely finish that one. Well, actually, we'll do it while it's here. That's right. Because I want to finish on that, your CV and your cover letter, our sort of disagreement around some stuff, which is going to just be valuable, I think. But there was a question here around finding a job and then getting back into it in the industry after some time out as a mature ager and dealing with some of the things. And so I have a bit of a thought around finding roles and opportunities and taking your blinkers off and thinking outside the box. And if you are a mature ager, so every businesses that are going to employ people, they're going to employ people for a reason. Generally, that reason is to improve their profit outline or the shareholder return, right? Some function of that. So it's going to be able to either help us increase our revenue or decrease our expenses, so we build better profit. That might be by doing dynamic customer service and all the things that make those things happen, right? No one employs anybody because they just like them. They're not charities, right? So they have a reason why they might be in the market looking for somebody. And so the question that came in is that I'm going out looking for a job. Well, you need to be able to position what you can bring to the table that's actually going to help deliver what the needs of that business are, and think about it in that sort of way. So if you are experienced and you do are bringing some sort of life experience to the table, well, that's a really valuable concept for some businesses, and sitting in front of a client who's 65 years old is probably easier done by a 50-plus person than by a 20-plus person. So what around that, finding roles and opportunities, how would you suggest? It's a different world now from when the sweps and that were at the universities. Thinking outside the box, how might somebody look at finding a role in this particular profession now?
Yeah, and particularly for a mature age.
Well, we'll answer the question directly, and then we'll go more broadly.
Yeah, so just going through the question, because I'd be really interested to know, so the question, I'm not going to read it out verbatim, but basically for someone of a wiser age, who's got a lot of experience, but breaking back in is really tough at the moment. Getting a lot of knockbacks is one of the terms here, and trying different approaches. Any tips, and is there ageism? I think your point is validly made, is that it's function. It's what's the function I want this person to do, and therefore then for me that takes out any of the ageism. However, I do concede that some people will be looking at the timeline that they may have in their head, which you're unaware of, in terms of how long they think this business is needing this particular employee for. So different approaches. I mean, if you haven't even been getting to the interview stage and the knockbacks are just coming back off the resume, I'd be going the resume and cover letter, which isn't like cover letters, but I'd be reassessing that and addressing the issue of the age. Because if you think you've been getting knockbacks on that,
bring it onto the table.
Bring it onto the table. Absolutely, and go, and even make light of it in a couple of, say, yes, I know I'm of a wiser age, but this is what I bring to the table and what I can deliver for your organisation. So I'd really just crack it straight away. And if you can do that in the application point of view, then the question, I would think you're going to get an interview.
Yep.
Because you're addressing it straight away.
Yep. You're not making anybody guess.
Not making anyone guess, no. And then aligning yourself to, well, what is it? What's the timeline for the business? Does that actually suit you? And then explaining why what they're wanting is something in your remit that you can actually bring. For me, it's going to be all about energy.
Yeah.
It's what energy you're bringing to the equation that I need to solve as an employer. So it's going to be how you demonstrate that. Getting the interview is the first struggle, but I reckon if you've hit it on the head and brought it up as a topic at application stage, maybe that first phone interview, however it's done, then that can actually be an agenda topic in the interview, and you can absolutely crush it in the interview at that point if you're aligning yourself to it.
Yeah.
At least then you're not walking away going, I don't know if it was my age or not, because we actually didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
I would just bring it up.
Yeah, good. I hope that's helped. I think there's an application process, but also like leveraging your networks and thinking about ways to do that's a really important one, especially if I assume that person's relatively comfortable building connections and building relationships and networking and so forth, where your age is demonstrated right there, like your effectiveness around the age, and then just not looking at a piece of paper and screaming out on age. So I hope that's helped there, but that sort of leads to the final topic, which we might try and make a bit fiery just for the last 7 minutes, if you don't mind. Is we talked about cover letters and CVs, and I'm not a believer in cover letters, but Andy is a firm believer. So tell me, cover letters on CVs. Why you mentioned that you think they're a really valuable thing? Yeah,
I'm a believer in a good cover letter.
Yeah.
So it's a slight difference, and there's some nuances around this because your resume is one thing, and I'm a big advocate for changing elements of your resume to match it to the position. And that might not be every element of your resume, but it's looking at what they're looking for, and maybe at each subsection of your resume saying, "Man, this is where it demonstrates." But resumes, you get a lot in, and you're trawling through them and trying to look for something to jump out at you. And if you make it easy for me to jump it out, because if the resume is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 pages long or 3, whatever, but that cover letter absolutely nails it.
Yeah.
Why you're applying, why you think you're a fit, and what you bring to the table that is a little bit different. That could then go, I'm reading this resume. Yeah. I'm absolutely reading this resume. As opposed to just a pile of resumes that comes in and they all look the same, etc. Controversial, put your photo on the cover letter. I know, he hates it. Or on the resume. But if the cover letter, because now I'm talking to you, I'm seeing who has written to me, who wants to go for this job. I can see their smiling face, please smile. And I'm like, I'm actually interested in this person because they've actually taken some time. That's me. Sometimes they don't let you submit a cover letter.
So, my 2 points are actually interesting because I don't polarly disagree with you. But I believe that a cover letter, what I see is people cut and paste cover letters, copy and paste. So there's a real chance of making riddled with errors. And so, for example, if I'm looking for attention to detail, and I spent every one of my years on earth telling people that my name, Alistair, is spelled with a D, not a T, and the second word you spell my name wrong, gone. So it kind of gives us like element to get it wrong. But if you're like really focused on nailing a cover letter and getting it really perfect and you're putting the time, then I can see it. I say no, too much risk. But your thing was like put some time into your cover letter and it can really add value. So that's why I say no. And I say no to photos because you don't want to put something like I've just seen 6 years of student photos coming in. I've seen some shockers, and they need to be really good because they can distract, right? They're either the poor quality, you haven't done your hair in it, you weren't shaved properly, your face tattoo's showing up too much, whatever it might be. So if you're going to put one on there, make it a good quality photo. But then, so that sort of comes to like social media, right? So on LinkedIn, if you don't have a photo on LinkedIn or Facebook, people don't engage with your profile.
Yeah.
So you need to have it in those scenarios. I'm just saying, put it on your CV with extreme caution, make it a good one.
Yeah, there's caveats on all of this in terms of that cover letter, individually written and triple checked.
Yeah.
Got everything right, particularly people's names. The photos, your own choice here. I like to see who I'm dealing with, but I'm a visual person, so that is kind of different. But I'm going to Google you anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to find you.
Yeah, fair enough. And you're good, the bad, and ugly photos.
Yeah. So I'm going to find you anyway. So
put it on there.
Put your best foot forward.
Yeah, cool. Hey, just we've got 3 minutes to go. Just in the chat room, is there anything that you guys want to throw in there or ask any questions just while we sort of wrap up? I'm going to launch one more poll too. And that last polling and give you another poll.
Can I just say that mention about the resumes? Because they all do look the same, no matter how much time you spent on them and formatting, etc. And if they go through a HR department, they're all going to come through black and white anyway. But for what it's worth, as our lights have somehow gone a little bit, but just press those double buttons over there. For the resume, all I used to do on mine was actually put like a sort of burnt orange header and footer bar, just because the colour just stood out against the other black and white ones if someone was printing it off in colour. Did it make a difference? We'll never know. But for me, it did when I was getting ones in that just looked different. I mean, I was reading them all, but the ones that looked different, I'd go, oh, this is interesting, pull it out.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, and that kind of leads a bit to, thanks for that poll. I'm just going to give one more quick poll there while I've got you. It sort of launches to another, the audience. Who's reading your CV? This is a really important thing. So is it the HR department or is it the person you're going to spend 40 hours a week with? And so if you're, like Andy just said, if you're tailoring your CV to the HR person, then you've got to make that stand out in 1,000 CVs.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're making it stand out to Andy, it's got to stand out amongst 10 CVs. So he's going to take 10 CVs that have been culled down for him to pick 5 that he's going to spend some time going and interviewing. So you've got 2 different audiences. So you need to make your CV almost a bit chameleon in that. Yeah, and there's a really good tip. The HR department gets a brief from the functional. So we're talking a big organisation, they're getting a brief. Now, they usually get a job description and they're trying to match the position there. So they're doing their best to sort through these 1,000 CVs and provide, let's say, 8 candidates who are a match to what's been provided, which is an imperfect science in the first place, depending on the hiring manager. The easier you make it to match, the better. And that's why I like the tailoring of your resume so they can tick off a couple of sections and go really quickly, oh my God, that's a match. And also if in the covering letter as well. If it's a small business, then not only the hiring manager is going to be reading it, probably half the team is as well. And like an entry into any tribe, they're looking to see if you fit. Yeah. So the more personality you can put into it, the better. So you've got your 2 audiences there. I guess what I'm suggesting is that you could probably give more of yourself or highlight more of yourself in a small organisation. Yes. Yeah. Excellent. Cool. There's the chat. So that's going up there. I respect LinkedIn. What is your opinion on Seek? I suspect Seek is a waste of time. Oh, look, just from a job hunting perspective and just with the minute that we've got left, I believe that I don't see any job hunters and job employers having really joyful experiences on Seek. I think it definitely plays a part in the system. It's just, if you think about everybody who's applying for jobs, they're applying all night from all over the world, all through the system, on a computer, putting it in. It's really hard to stand out. And, you know, Seek's passing your CV and taking all the information out and putting it in boring formats. We can't do anything that Andy said. So you are way better to somehow get in the door other than some online strategy to find a role.
Yeah, to get a name.
A couple other questions that came up. I'd like to affirm what Andy said regarding businesses looking into increased value. A discussion with an acquaintance in the field made me realise to stop being so fussy. I'm now looking for where I can fit rather than what looks easy. Fit is good. Yeah. Fit is what lasts.
Yeah. And fit can be determined by you as well. You know, you're in a big power here. You take a job that you're going to be really happy in, that you're going to feel valued and that you're delivering value to the organisation. If you can go, wow, that's exciting me and it's delivering for them, that's fit for me, and that's engaged employees, which is what the nirvana is.
Yeah, on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
And the last question was how to address lack of experience applying for positions such as a grad role. I hear this, right?
Yeah.
We didn't get that role because of lack of experience. I think they're not giving the right feedback when they're saying that, because as a grad, you shouldn't have any. You shouldn't have a CV. You shouldn't have relevant work experience in that necessarily. So I think they're probably giving you some poor feedback there and not telling you that, and you should ask for more feedback around. If they're saying you didn't get that because someone was more experienced but it's a grad role, well, then that's not what that's about. So I think you need to look at grad roles, you need to address entry level, and you need to be really comfortable knowing that you're going to have to work your experience, which means you start from the ground up in an organisation, and coming in any other way is going to be a really tough way to approach your job hunt.
Yeah. Can I recommend a book?
Yes.
It's not mine.
I was about to say, Andy's got a book. We'll make sure you get the link to that too.
It's not my book. The book is called Life's Pitch, P-I-T-C-H.
Yep.
The author's name's escaped me at the moment, but Mavity, M-A-V-I-T-Y. Life's a Pitch, written by an ad agency guru. The book's split into two halves. One is stories about great pitches in the marketing world, but the second half of the book is all about pitching yourself. And there was a great story in there about a graduate trying to get a job, and yes, it was in England, and they were going through the whole thing and sort of countering why this person would fit the role. And then the interviewee said, I also make a blinding cup of tea. Now, we're going back a few years, but it was just the genuine nature of the interview and the dialogue that went through. I'd recommend that book, just grabbing it, because it's all about how you can sell yourself.
Yeah.
And just position yourself. So the second half of the book is the absolute gold about how you would do presentations, because when someone says like an experience, something happened in the interview that you weren't able to shine and be yourself and bring all of you to that. Yeah. And that can be the interviewer's fault, absolutely. Yeah. So I'd address that. And I would absolutely, even if you found that, I'd bring it up with the interviewer as well. I'm a big one for just asking questions going, hey, does my level of experience fit into what you're wanting? And then you get the answer going, yes, no, otherwise, and go, well, let me talk to you about what I can bring that I might not have this functional work experience, but I've got these stories to tell about what I can do.
That would be a valuable way for everybody to approach that, because I'm getting a bit of this feedback that I'm being told there's not a lack of experience in a grad role, which is
crazy.
Look, thank you very much, Andy. We've gone a little bit over. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I will put a link in there to your book so people can go check out your book, because I really appreciate your support. And if you need any help with any sort of finding a role or support or anything like that, or any feedback that you want to give us around what topics you want on these webinars and so forth, join us, let us know, and share with us. And I look forward to speaking to you next time. Cheers.